Good evening. I call this meeting to order at 6:18 p.m. Directors present tonight are Director Stepp, Director Ramirez, Director Torres, Director Teitler, and myself, meaning we have a quorum. Thank you to our interpreter. Would you please share the interpretation instructions with our participants, and we can turn on the interpretation function. Thank you. The first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any proposed changes to the agenda? I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Directors, you've just approved the agenda as presented. Our next agenda item is our opening celebrations and updates by our acting superintendent, Dr. Anna Cole.
Good evening. Lots to talk about. We are wrapping up Q1 for school, so lots to celebrate. I want to start with just some updates on our 24-29 strategic planning process. We're moving from phase 2, which was diagnosed, to phase 3, which is strategic planning. We're awaiting the receipt of the organizational diagnostic from Attuned Education Partners, so that'll show up on a board agenda in the upcoming meetings. Though that organizational diagnostic, which is going to be kind of like a holistic report card for the district, is going to help inform our strategic priorities. And then our community can look forward to getting a chance to look at those those draft priorities in early December. There'll be another round of pretty robust community input sessions on those. Our students are doing well and busy. Today was PSAT, SAT testing for our 9th graders, our 11th graders. As you guys know, that 9th grade PSAT is a really important student achievement data source for us. So that was important that a lot of our students are going through that testing this week. We're also in the window for the 2023 Healthy Kids Colorado survey that's administered to all our 6th through 12th graders. And it really looks at, we do the survey every 2 years, and it measures youth well-being, kind of protective and risk factors. It really leads to a lot of important conversations. It informs a lot of our work around student and family wraparound supports. A lot of our student athletes are wrapping up full fall sports. Our middle school sports have ended. I've heard from parents that that's a great relief to get a little break. And we're also seeing our high school athletics. We're seeing lots of our senior nights. Some of our teams are heading into state playoffs. The CMC Spring Valley campus hosted the state mountain bike championships this past weekend. So there's a lot going on there. And then a lot of our student athletes are getting ready for the winter season. One of our CHASA activities that's sponsored Roaring Fork High School is our speech and debate team. They're actually kicking up into high gear and are hosting a tournament this weekend at Roaring Fork High School. So lots going on for our students. In terms of our families and community, a lot of folks know, and I'm guessing we have great attendance tonight, but I'm guessing we might have more limited attendance because it's parent-teacher conference week. So I know that a lot of families are making time for that. Friday, we don't have school for students to allow time for parent-teacher conferences. So those are happening this week. We had a really great turnout for our district wellness committee meeting and family advisory council last week. The teams really, at least in the wellness committee meeting, we're really elevating, kind of talking about drug and alcohol prevention education, comprehensive human sexuality education. And then the team also did a data dive into our 2021 Healthy Kids Colorado data to look at trends. So lots of help from family and community in that advisory council. Parents may be getting notifications from our school health services team because we're coming up on our vaccine compliance date. Over the last couple of years, our district, with the leadership of our school nurses, has really increased our immunization compliance rate. Now, there are pathways if families aren't comfortable with the state required immunizations. There's pathways of compliance around that, but that data is coming up. So a lot of families are trying to catch up on those. Folks are getting organized. There's some big events coming up. The Taste of Basalt, the Basalt Education Foundation sponsors, is coming up next weekend. This Friday is the Halloween happening at CRES, which is a big kind of wraparound Carbondale support for the CRES community. We also last week hosted almost 20 community partners, filled this space. It was the second week of our Youth and Family Serving Community Partners Showcase. And so we had a lot of our old partners that have worked with the district for a really long time, and also some new nonprofits and health and human services organizations were here. And the purpose of that showcase is to really build relationships and get those partners face to face with our staff. And so we did an after school evening session on Thursday night and then last Friday morning with our student support team. And so again, we're really trying to strengthen referral processes with our schools and our nonprofit and youth serving organizations, make sure we're aligned. So super grateful for those teams showing up for us and showing up for our schools and communities. And also grateful for in our schools, the family liaisons, the school counselors, the administrators and teachers who work really hard to make sure kids and families can connect to our partners. None of the things that I just mentioned can happen without our staff. And so they are working overtime because these are all additional things to support testing, to support conferences. So really grateful for the lift of staff. They're the glue, they're our connectors, and they're really the drivers of all this work and the folks who make it happen. And so thinking about our drivers, last week was National School Bus Safety Week. So I wanted to take a quick minute to just update you. Jared Rains, the Director of Transportation, and Sherry Martinez just shared some really fun details about our transportation team that I want to share with you and celebrate. We currently have 18 drivers, which is lower than where we want to be comfortably. So we're definitely still looking for drivers. We also staff 5 mechanics and 4 staff. The longest serving driver, Gene Schilling, has actually been driving for decades and even drove our current transportation director, Jared Rains, when he was in high school. So if you want to figure out how old everybody is, you can kind of play with that a little bit. And a little brag on Jared Rains. Just today, we received notification that he's been invited to represent the state of Colorado this May at the National Congress on School Transportation. And so there's only a few representatives going to that, and Jared was invited to represent Colorado. So big shout out to Jared on that. Those 5 mechanics I mentioned maintain over 100 vehicles, including the largest minibus fleet on the Western Slope, which is ours. There are 1,500 students that are transported daily, almost 1,000 miles a day. Some of those routes have 40 to 50 stops, which, a stop is a real moment of kind of risk and they can be dangerous just where we are, where kids are. But safety is a priority of that team. And even with the extra workload due to driver shortages, our team has a great safety record. And that really is the priority of those drivers and the teams that support them. And then also we want to acknowledge all the, we always laugh that in education, folks wear a lot of hats. And there are a lot of coaches, there are a lot of teachers and staff who also wear the hat of a minibus driver. And so we couldn't get our kids where they need to go to all these activities, field trips, outdoor ed, sports, without those drivers, that staff, and the coaches and teachers who step up and drive minibuses. So just wanted to celebrate National School Bus Safety, our transportation team. And if anybody is interested in becoming a driver, we want to talk to you. So that's it.
Thank you. The next business in order is a presentation from Dr. Anna Cole. It's our superintendent report. Yeah. All right. So the purpose of this update is really to give you kind of a quarterly update on our 23-24 strategic plan. So I know we've been talking a lot about the 24-29, our big 5-year strategic plan, but we have strategic priorities for the school year that we're in. And so the purpose of today is to really bring back those strategic priorities, let you know where we are on those and the initiatives related, and answer any questions related to those. So the first, we're not going to spend a ton of time on increasing equity and student achievement. We've heard a lot from Chief Park on the work that's happening around school culture, high quality instruction, career and technical education. We are drafting the culture handbook. Our new executive director of schools, Joel Hathaway, is really leading that work. Our deans of culture and our administrators are working on school-based culture handbooks. Our district and school UIPs were submitted that really help align how we're going to move towards that equity and student achievement. And then in terms of career and technical education, our new instructional facilitator, Mitch Foss, is really taken on leading and coordinating this work with lots of partners. This is, quite a bigger project than just the Roaring Fork schools. And so we're and there's a couple pathway certifications that are in progress to kind of develop a more robust career and technical education pathways for our students.
In terms of retention recruitment, I'm going to have Chief Platt talk us through where those priorities are at.
Absolutely. We are hoping to launch our Education Opportunity Fund by this December. So we have had a couple of meetings where we are putting together what that trial will look like. There are funds that will be destined to employees, certified and classified alike, to expand their education, to expand their opportunities. So we are hoping to have that ready by this December and send the first trial out. Next one, talking about creative recruitment strategies. There are a few things that we are currently doing. We have partnered with an amazing provider of vision, and we have, for the first time this year, brought J1 teachers on a visa that will help us as well on those areas that are really hard to recruit for, all those foreign nationals that also have a second language to mirror the ethnicity of our students.
Thank you. Also, with some updates on staff housing, Chief Markham's going to take that one for us.
All right, thanks, Anna. So as most of you know, Meadowwood is underway. We're constructing 50 new rentals just south of here by Roaring Fork High School. Remain on track. To date, we've spent about $4.6 million of the $28.7 million budget. It's about 16% of the total. We're excited to get those underway. We also had an opportunity come to us to participate in a potential development at Flying M, which is by Riverview School. We would basically have the opportunity to purchase 12 units at cost. We don't have to manage the process. We don't have to manage the construction. So it's really just writing a check, and then can we partner that with a pathway to home ownership? Are they deed restricted? Are they rentals? Those are things we can still figure out. And then I know Chief Baumfalk has been really putting his arms around the housing issue. You know, he thinks a lot through the many hats he wears, including COO here, around, you know, how many units do we need as a district? And that's something that we'll probably need to answer in the next 5 years and really have a long-term plan to get there.
And then in terms of our 5-year strategic plan, there were a couple of initiatives around that work, the portrait of a graduate core values. You know, one of the things that we heard as we were bringing those drafts back to our community early this fall was that folks wanted more time. They just wanted to lean in a little bit more, have more conversations about that work, and have a more robust community input and design process. And so we decided to put that process a little bit on hold until after this year, after the 24-29 strategic planning process is completed, and then lean back into those documents with a more robust community process. And then initiative 2 is a school resource framework.
So the school resource framework is really designed to dive into how are we equitably distributing resources to schools. We do some of that work now, but it's really to understand and to build a broader base of understanding across the district. A working group has convened. We're currently naming the work, and this is work that will last beyond 1 year. We've kind of used the phrase, this is work that will define the work, while also hoping to make some changes for the 24-25 budget year.
And then already updated on our 24-29 strategic plan development. So that is kind of our quarterly updates for you there. I know we're going to do kind of questions, comments at the end of the full update. Yeah, perfect. So thank you both. So next is some updates. Faride Rodriguez, the business coordinator for early childhood education department. Lori Brumbaugh, who is our instructional facilitator for early childhood, are going to take you through some pretty comprehensive updates on universal preschool, the rollout of that across the state and also in the Roaring Fork School District, and then some updates from the ECE department. So lots to celebrate and talk about in this realm.
Everyone. So we just want to start it off by going over a little bit of background. In 2022, the Department of Education, the Department of Early Childhood branched out from the Colorado Department of Education. And this new department holds universal preschool. And another major change that came with that was licensing. So the state took back licensing. It used to be held by counties, and it's no longer that way. Another big change. A little bit about universal preschool. The program provides 3 and 4-year-olds with between 10 to 30 hours of preschool a week. And students have to have 1 or more qualifying factors in order to be eligible for these hours. The process, families apply online. They're notified of the hours that they they receive the benefits for, and then they select the programs in which they want to attend. We then on the back end go through a whole matching and accepting enrolling process. And then our program is reimbursed monthly for the students we have enrolled through the UPK system. This is for 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds. Funding is a little bit different, but this is how it works for our 4-year-olds. And we are learning that our district is reimbursed about $2,000 more than we actually are for tuition. And so it's been, it's been great to see that for our programs. We work really closely with our local coordination organization, the Rocky Mountain Early Childhood Council, and they've really been a great support in guiding us through UPK, supporting us and our families, and getting as many of our families enrolled in the system. Because like I said, there's a lot of steps to, finally getting enrolled in UPK. They also are helping us with finding grants and applying for grants when they're available, and just really guiding us through the whole process. They have like regular meetings with just districts and are always really helpful when you have like specific questions about families and just getting them through the system, like I said. There are, with the new system, there's a lot of opportunities and challenges. It's great. There's been a lot of attention and focus on early childhood, which is really exciting for us. We do think that there's a lot of things that we're learning and our families are learning, and things will change, but eventually we will increase access for our students. And it has added, funding to our early childhood world, especially with families who have 4-year-olds. So that's great. We also know that it's not the solution. We need more funding and more access to early childhood. And because it's a new system, enrollment and access has been difficult for some of our families, and even us as we're just learning how to, work through this. But we're trying to respond and be as supportive to our families and our community as we can. We're working really closely with the Family Resource Center. Our family liaisons have been huge in helping us enroll the families that we have enrolled. They're helping us, provide tuition support for families who unfortunately didn't receive the hours that they were expecting. And we just really continue to have a lot of support from the district, with funding, which is we're very grateful for. And you can see our current enrollment. We've never had this many students enrolled in our programs. We expanded our program this year. We opened 3 new classrooms in 3 of our preschool centers. And so you can see we have a couple open spaces currently, but we do save spaces for students who have qualifying factors or are making bento or have IEPs. And so we always have spaces, saved for those students, but we're happy about our enrollment. We're continuing to enroll families and spreading the word about the spaces that we do have in 3 other programs. And you can also see here that we're helping the family liaisons and the early childhood department is helping our families find different funding sources to help cover tuition. We're really happy about some of our numbers here. We have none of our 4-year-old families with 4-year-olds are paying full tuition, which is really exciting. That's thanks to Universal Preschool and thanks to, like I said, the work of our Family Resource Center and other, community support as well. We have, as you can see, also staff who applied for the sliding scale, and that's a big number of our teachers and our certified staff. So we're excited, that we can offer that to our staff as well. And we continue to partner with Early Head Start in Eagle County, and they have 5 toddler spots in their Marcel program, and we're really excited to, just continue our work with them and hopefully increase the number of toddler spots in the future. You can see here a rough draft of our budget. This is, we're still trying to actively look for, grants and other like funding opportunities for our program to help with tuition, to help with staff salaries. And like I said before, this is with a lot of help and support from the school district, helping us financially to operate. Just looking ahead, like I said earlier, we're really trying to blend our funding. We're applying for several grants, hopefully in the spring. So we're excited about the opportunity that will bring to our program. And our goal, and I know our staff and directors are really excited about, the work that we're doing is trying to get first our directors on a K through 12 certified salary schedule, and then having more salary increase for our staff as well. As you know, currently we only have two categories for our early childhood teachers, and that's an early childhood assistant teacher and a group leader. And we're hoping to be able to provide, a different salary for those who have associate's degrees, and then in the future, bachelor's degrees and so on. So.
And then we have our increased program capacity across district. Right now, we have the 3 new classrooms that we started this year. We have teachers for all the classrooms now, so we feel really good about that. And then 24-25, we will be combining at the Red Brick Building in Basalt, both growing years and our program together. We'll have 6 preschool classroom, 3 toddlers classroom, and 1 infant classroom when we do that. Also our strategy work that we've been doing this year is in inclusion classrooms. Every classroom gets inclusion, including the toddlers. They get to work with the ECSEs, and they get to work with the directors in the toddler classroom too. We've been working with the ECSEs along with our consultants from DU, and they're doing a lot of training on coaching and consulting in the classroom, which has really helped with bringing down behaviors and stuff. We had a PD day in September. We had 60 staff out of 62, so we only had 2 that didn't attend, and that was really nice. Our key partners, we're really thankful for them for all that they do for our program. And Melissa Tasher from the Colorado Department of Education did our PD day in September on creating curriculum and inclusion in our classrooms. And there's a picture of all our centers.
Thank you.
Thank-
So
Thank you.
we're going to jump into the board. Each member has 2 minutes to ask questions of everyone that just presented, and then 5
Okay.
minutes of open discussion. So if you guys can hang,
Okay.
appreciate it. Thanks. We'll start with Director Torres.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I was curious, on some of the slides, there was a mention of the expansion of space. I know that there's 3 additional classrooms, which is fantastic. I didn't see that as any of the challenges. Are we projecting further growth in more classroom space needed? And if so, what are the planning for additional space? Because I know there's so many classrooms that are already at capacity. And finding the space is tricky. So is there a plan for?
I think with Basalt, we're kind of settled because of combining our 2 programs. So we will have a little more room at Basalt. And the other centers, some principals are like, Lori, stay out of my hallways, because I'm asking for classrooms that are empty. And so it will be our future, that we're looking at. Can we expand, different schools that we need to? And that's just a lot of strategy planning. We're planning for the future.
And the expansion as far as as you're continuing to work with partners to increase enrollment, that projection looks pretty comparable as far as increased enrollment, you have the space.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. That was and thank you. This has been really helpful, and it's great work and exciting.
Yes, thank you.
Director Tytler.
Thank you, everybody, for your presentations. A lot of great work that's being done. A couple questions I have is, first one for you all in ECE. if it seems like I'm seeing on some documents 10 to 15 hours of UPK, and then in another one it says 10 to 30 hours. Can you explain the difference in which it is and why?
Yeah, so our, so 4-year-old students can get anywhere between 15 and 30 hours of universal preschool. And our 3-year-olds qualify for anywhere between 10 and 15. I think we have the option to double slot 3-year-olds and offer those 30 hours, of coverage. But 3-year-olds with qualifying factors are eligible for 10, starting at 10. So that's why it's broad, between 10 and 30.
And then just sort of as a follow-up to that, how is the outreach to potential parents that could engage in these slots happening? Like, how is the word being spread that these programs are available, and how is it getting to the parents who most need it for their children, perhaps?
Yeah, well, with flyers, we posted on our Facebook and our social media, trying to spread the word through the Family Resource Center. That we work really closely, and when there's a family that they connect with and they have young children, they come to us. But we're really just asking our families to spread the word. So at the 3 centers that have spaces, we've intentionally asked our families, do you know of anyone, family, friend who has a 3 to 5-year-old and is looking for preschool? So we're trying to do it that way. But we're still looking for more students to enroll.
And the local lead that we do work with, they do have a waiting list. So when they have a parent that pops up on UPK, they get in touch with Faraday and say, hey, we have a parent that wants to come to this school. So we do have that waiting list that we do work with.
Great, thank you. And then one last question for the two of you. I was reading that pivotal practices page, and it was talking about evaluations, and it's saying that there's 2 to 3 practice-based coaching cycles, and each cycle will include 4 to 6 focused observations. Then with the feedback, that's like 12 to 18 sessions a year. How is that?
We're not
Into
quite that
reality?
far.
But is that like feasible, really? Like to think there's that much with that much feedback in the forms?
We do right now. What we're on 4 to 6 week coaching sessions with our staff right now. And this is a new program to us. And I think that's an outlook that we want to get to eventually. So we do with the staff, we set up coaching cycles with each staff. We set goals for them. And hopefully we hope into 4 to 6 weeks, we get that goal made. And it's kind of amazing that we had in September, we'll just say at Glenwood Springs, we had 6 teachers on coaching cycles, and they're on their next goal.
So that pivotal practices feedback form that has all the different places that you're evaluating, you're not doing that repetitively again and again, the whole form?
No, we're going to where the teachers just talk to the director and the ECSE, and they talk about the goals that they need to meet in their classroom. Like if they're having trouble with transition, then they send a goal for that.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. The next question I think is to Chief Platt. Can you talk about what the Education Opportunity Fund is a little more? Not really sure what that is, and I would like more information on that.
Absolutely. There are funds from the mill levy that were earmarked for recruitment and retention. There's a set amount, so they can't go towards salaries. So our proposal is to offer portion of these funds to employees, as I mentioned, classified and certified, so not just teachers, for their education. Right now, we're talking if teacher would like to advance maybe on this scale, and they could pay for additional credits. If a custodial would like to take Spanish classes or English classes, one way or the other, to advance their opportunities as employees as well, and personal too. So we are studying and we are looking at how is that process going to look like, the request of the funds, if those funds are going to be available prior to them making the expense of or after, and we are hoping to launch it by December.
Great. So do you have some information you could like send to us that explains this a little bit more, or is it just an oral thing that's happening right now? And how is like being shared with the staff so they know about that? Is that been in newsletters? And
it will be in a newsletter once we have that application process. We're focusing on the application process first, so we understand how people can access those funds, but I can share some more via written.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then the last question for Chief Markham, maybe, can you give us any updates on what is being done with the pathways to home ownership? Has there been any progress in that regard?
I think I defer to Chief Baumfocht and his work with with the housing committee. They talk about that and I don't sit on that. So I feel out of place speaking for them.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Stepp.
Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple questions. You talk about the complex enrollment process and how access is difficult. Is that our process or is that the state process?
It's the universal preschool, it's Bridge Care, the system that they're using to enroll families, and the application itself is fairly user friendly. It's just the matching process. So a family applies, then they have to match, then we have to accept. So it's just several steps before they're actually enrolled. It's a little bit better now because they're running the system on a weekly basis. So families get a response faster, and we see it on our end a little bit quicker as well. But it's just several steps that, we've also been helping families navigate.
Thank you. Yeah, just trying to understand that is that something that's in our control that we can work on to improve, or is that at the state level where we have no control at all? But it sounds like it's getting better. So Thank you for looking at that. The other question I had was, this is first year and it's been a little crazy, but you guys are doing a great job. And our expenditures are a little bit more than the revenues that we're bringing in. And you said you're working on grant applications. Are you working with the foundation at all to explore some fundraising activities or?
We're just at this point, we're just kind of exploring our options and what we can apply for and who we can connect with. It's very early, but we hope to next year be able to apply for funding that's available to us as a school district. It's also a little bit limited, I think, because we are a school district. It's different.
Yeah, I just thought that might be something that the foundation could maybe help support. And then as we go into the next budgeting season, is something the district is looking to put more funds toward to support, or just something to think about. All right, another question. I can't remember what it is. Chief Markham, on the resource framework for the schools. Do you use a similar, I should know this, but they use a similar kind of funding formula, like the state has like a base and then they add in extra things for like how many second language learners or how many students or how many buildings, or, do you use a kind of the same formula or similar?
Not nearly as detailed as the states, but we do for school-based resources, we do allocate for general population, for SPED population, for ELL population, and try and do as much based on, kind of student-based budgeting as we can. And this project is really to go into the understanding of how we're currently doing it, how we can update it, or factors we're missing.
Yeah, I think having a funding formula like that creates that equity that we're hoping for. So, and you've got a committee working on that.
Yeah, again, to update kind of what we're currently doing, hopefully it can be more robust and not just transparent, but clear in how resources are flowing to schools.
Great, thank you. 20 seconds to spare.
Director Ramirez.
To follow up on that, Chief Markham, who's involved in the school research framework?
So it's myself, Dr. Cole, Joel Hathaway, or Executive Director of Schools, Chief Park, and then right now it's 3 principals, one representing each level. And we'll do outreach, but kind of that committee will really sit with the work.
Okay. And it is a committee.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also wanted to follow up on that difference in your guys' budget this year is $36,000. So I'm just wondering where are we thinking that money is going to come from this school year?
So Kate, can you say that again? I didn't quite catch all of it.
On this draft 23-24 budget, I'm assuming that
Yes, so every year the general fund subsidizes the preschool program. And so
Okay.
that's just where that comes from. It's in the general fund budget that the board has approved. Most programs we run don't actually bring in revenue. So the fact that pre-K brings in $3.8 million is pretty awesome.
Do-
And it's a smaller subsidy than it has been in the past.
do you know what the past one was?
During the pandemic, it got as high as $1 million.
Well, then great job, guys.
And I will say, I think one of the, the way I think about that is that's the cost of us providing health benefits to staff, essentially, which is something a lot of preschool programs are unable to do.
Thank you. Well, it goes without saying that I'm obviously very appreciative of the work you guys have done in early childhood. I think it's amazing. I'm proud to support the work. My follow-up question is for your guys is looking ahead for 24-25 with the program directors aiming to have a BA or to have higher education. Are we doing something to support that to make sure that our leaders that we have in our schools right now are going to be able to be those people?
Yeah, we have a couple of people on Teach Scholarship working on their BA. We have another one that's going to the community college to work on her. So far we have two. And we have two new directors that are in our program, and we're slowly getting them in that direction.
And are we supporting them financially to go into that direction?
So the Teach Scholarship covers 90% of tuition for the students. And so the district has committed since last year to cover the remaining 10%. And so our staff, if they wish to apply for the Teach Scholarship, can go to school at no cost of their own. So yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Acting Superintendent Cole, I did have a follow-up question on the portrait of a graduate and core values. Do we know how many community members have attended those thus far? Yeah.
Gosh, I think we're going to get an update from Attuned as part of the organizational diagnostic of how many participants we had in those focus groups. In terms of feedback on portrait of a graduate and core values, we haven't pulled all that data on because there was a number of surveys and then just some additional feedback that we received via email. And then, it definitely came up at the focus group sessions as well. So we'll definitely hear how many folks participate in the focus group sessions from Attuned, but we haven't pulled together all the data on specifically the core values and portrait of a graduate feedback kind of numbers that we've seen so far.
When
we
do you
could do
think
that.
we'll have that by?
To be honest, because we kind of put the project on hold, basically our assessment was we didn't have enough input on the portrait of a graduate and core values. We just wanted more engagement, and we were kind of moving forward with the strategic planning and those focus groups. And so right now we hadn't intended to go back and look at actually what those numbers were but we certainly could.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the meetings that are happening, how many community members have we had participate in that?
I think that I was looking at the numbers. We had somewhere around 20 focus group sessions. I think we had over 100 participants across both the virtual and the in-person focus group sessions.
And you wouldn't happen to know how many were monolingual?
I don't, but I know that we're auditing. I was just talking to Attuned on Monday, and we are auditing attendance for that, to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then just to end, I just wanted to give a suggestion for recruitment. I don't know if this is something we're already doing, but I definitely have had a lot of feedback from parents who appreciate the Remind app. And so I wonder if we couldn't send out a message to say, if you guys, to our general population, if you guys know somebody who has a kiddo who is ready to come to one of our schools, we have X amount of spots open to try to recruit. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in early childhood. It's obviously something that is near and dear to me. I feel like this was a very broad superintendent's report. So I've got a couple of different questions. Chief Platt, I wanted to follow up on the J1 program and just check in if you could share with us the numbers of teachers that we have in classrooms via that program this year and any feedback that we're receiving on that so far.
This year, we have 7 new teachers in the classrooms from different nationalities, Colombian teachers and a few Filipino teachers as well. We have engaged in visas in past years. We have done H-1B visas before, and we continue to do those as well. The main difference with J1 visas, those teachers are able to come to teach with us faster. It's a faster process than an H-1B visa, and it's also a process that has a lower cost to the district than an H-1B. So far, we have been extending a little bit more handhold to these new teachers because we do need to consider that they're brand new, not just to the area, but probably to the country as well. So the reception has been great. The principals are very happy. We're guiding them through their licensing program. We're guiding them through the basics as well, where to find the bank, where to find the Social Security office, where to take the bus, and so on and so forth. A few of them, I think one of them has been benefited from our housing program as well. So we definitely want to keep them, make them feel welcome.
Excellent. Thank you. That was going to be my next question, if we were doing anything for housing for those teachers. So my other questions are, I wanted to follow up on a couple of things related to EC. It's great to hear that the ECSEs are in toddler classrooms. I think that's critical. And I'm curious if there's any partnership with Mountain Valley or anyone else to ensure that we have kids that are on IFSPs likely to be on IEPs.
We
in our
do.
toddler
We have
classrooms.
several in several centers. with
Great.
Kids that are on there. And we had 3 that graduated from toddlers and went into preschool in our program. So yes.
And then my other question about enrollment numbers is just to clarify. The enrollment in the extended day pre-K, is that in addition to the standard day pre-K, or are those kids that are included in the standard day pre-K numbers, but just opt for the extended day? So is the total number standard day enrollment plus extended day?
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the standard day is, we'll say like, just for the standard day, and then the extended day is 1 classroom.
Okay.
So in some schools we have 2, and then like the 45, that's 3 classrooms.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sopris, Riverview, and Crystal River are the ones that we added the extra classrooms. So it's a little higher than the other 2.
Great. And then my last question is just about, I didn't see anywhere in this presentation any discussion about staffing, which obviously is a concern across most, if not all, of our other departments. And so I'm curious how staffing is looking for the early childhood programs, if we're short-staffed, if we've been able to fill positions, and
Right.
how we're doing on that front.
It took a little bit of time for us to get teachers in, hired and stuff, but we are hired finally.
Awesome.
And so we have, out of our 23 classrooms, we have 20 that are bilingual. It's the retention that we really need to work on, hoping that we can keep our staff. And when we start talking about teach scholarships and we start talking about our next plan and where we're heading, they seem to be more up on it, and they like that because they want to improve themselves always. So we're always looking for them to get through PDIS on Colorado Shines, to get their ECT, move up to level 2, then work on classes and stuff to go to level 3. So we use a lot of that to keep them motivated.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the board now moves into 5 minutes of open discussions. If you can hang with us just a little bit longer, just in case something comes up from your presentation.
Sorry, I had a clarifying question. So when she was talking about the pre-K and extended day, so you're saying there's 45 standard day
Yeah.
program and 15 extra for extended.
That
You're not-
extended, pay
Okay.
that come from 7:15 to 5:15.
Okay.
I would just like to add, I think is great that you're looking for next year having ECE program directors be on the teacher scale, salary scale, and I would just like to lend my full support to that, and anything that we can do as a board, if need be, I would be happy to help support that. And I also really applaud introducing these additional lanes for salary for ECE programs outside of the program directors, but I think they have been underpaid for too long, and I think it's great that it's moving in the right direction.
I had another clarification for the EOF pilot. Is that this December or next December? Because here it says 2024.
This December.
Okay,
My apologies.
thank you.
And I have a follow-up question. When we covered 3 different topics, it's like, oh,
I know.
dang it, I missed my other questions. I did have a question about the school culture update, and it seems to include, at least on what we've been given, some subjective. We're creating sense of belonging. We're looking at strengthening student achievement. I'm curious about what specific activities or co-curricular assessments that are taking place within school culture that can speak to how you do that. It doesn't seem like you can really say school culture is this in all different schools. So can you speak a little bit about that?
You bet. And we can certainly, when we have the district plan and some of the school plans ready, it would be, I think you'd really love having Joel Hathaway come share what that looks like, what those tools look like. A lot of it is naming kind of the norms and practices of the school, how kids move through the building, how it's kind of the traditions, the norms, into the rules, into the connections to like our discipline matrix and how we do kind of proactive behavioral supports across our schools, really naming those little things that help keep really stable, safe environments for learning. So, I think you're naming a really interesting point about the like, yeah, how do you cultivate belonging for kids? We definitely measure it, right? Our Panorama student survey, Healthy Kids student survey, both measures belonging in school. And so we get percentages of how much you belong. And Panorama actually has a number of questions on that topic. And part of the school culture guide is meant, we have theories of practice of initiatives and priorities that we can take in terms of building trusting relationships, making sure kids have a trusted adult, making sure that there's a crew or a tutorial at the high schools where students feel like they have a team where they're able to maybe do some more non-academic conversations or topics that we think will help move those measures on student belonging. But I think a lot of around school culture is creating that kind of safe routines for how the school functions. And I think that's what you'll see in those handbooks.
So thank
Does
you.
that
I think
help?
it would be fantastic to bring Joel
Okay.
to a board meeting, give a presentation, and have an opportunity to kind of get a clear understanding of what's taking place and how do you measure
Yeah.
success.
So is each school responsible for creating one with Joel?
You got it. Yep. So he's working on with stakeholders, a district school like culture plan, and then each school is creating one. Some schools already had them, but then, kind of following a similar template to create those.
And he's holding stakeholder meetings for that?
Not yet. They're
Okay.
still in development, and then it'll be in those getting input on that, making sure it feels right. Especially staff need to feel a sense of ownership and see their practices reflected in those guides.
I just have two, I always felt hesitant about bringing this up before because I wear multiple hats, but now I feel like I can. I really think we need to strengthen the partnership with CMC's ECE program and creating those pathways, especially with our concurrent enrollment students, and getting some more bilingual teacher. I mean, you went through the program, so. And then also another thing to think about, Begonia, is how can we possibly partner in hiring joint faculty, right? So especially I'm looking at construction, IT, and business for the CTE programs. This happen to be the 3 programs I supervise. But it's really, really hard to get a construction person who's making over 100 grand to start working for 50 grand. So if we can partner with the college and somehow, boost that up, we need to do that. So just planting the seed for future.
Well, definitely, I was going to say, definitely, we have Inez Burbano, who is our director at Riverview and also teaches for CMC early childhood. So we do have some of those shared roles already.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
At this time, we welcome members of the public who have signed up to address the board. There are 3 speakers signed up tonight. The board allots 45 minutes for public comment. To respect the time of all who are present, speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Reminder to all speakers to uphold our procedures for public comment. We ask you to be thoughtful and constructive with your comments, and thank you in advance for sharing your feedback. Members of the public who wish to share their views with the board may always do so in writing at any time. For this evening's public comment, we received 1 written comment. Our first speaker signed up tonight is Scott Henriksen. Our second speaker signed up tonight is Barbara O'Toole.
And they are giving the seniors school district meeting. Started 5 years ago, and I talked with Rob Stein about it a couple of times, and I don't know why we cannot. I live in Eagle County since 1970. And I never could afford Aspen. And so the mill levy situation is actually in Aspen, in the Pitkin County School District, around 36 when I checked last. And when I called them, they said it may go up, that they didn't know yet. And here it's 48 or 47 when I talked with Rob Stein, and now I hear you're going up over 50, the mill levy. And I just cannot afford my taxes anymore. Living in the same space for 53 years, and half of my tax money goes to the school. And so I kind of want to ask the Roaring Fork School District, or they can give us a break, because Pitkin County has it for years. And when they look into it, some people, politicians, I checked with City of Basalt, and they said, well, it's happened years ago and they have more money and all that stuff. But it's really fact now that I have to sell my house in order, after all those years, and I have to leave the valley, and that's not right, I think. So that's why I hope you can look into a little bit and give the seniors a break here, who live here forever, perhaps a certain age. And here it says with this system, you have to be at least 60 and an income of 360,000. I live by myself, and I make less than the teacher, and the teacher get affordable housing or get housing and stuff. And all those years I worked for the ski co for $5.11 and put brick by brick together to have a nice house.
That's 3 minutes.
My taxes, and now they're telling me, well, just sell and leave. That's really my situation. Okay. So
Thank you.
if you would be kind enough and check with the Pitkin County that they, how they did it and what they're giving for the seniors who are less fortunately, they said, well, you live in Aspen, you should be rich, you know, so it's not that way. So I said, could never afford Aspen to live there, and I always lived in the Salt. And the same spot, 53 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And you have my address if there comes anything out of it, and get in touch with me. Okay.
Our next speaker tonight is Lindsay DeFreitas.
So first of all, I want to sincerely thank the board for the hours and days of work that has been put into carefully considering all of the various paths forward when it comes to choosing leadership for this district. I also want to say how much I appreciate the immense challenge that they are faced when having to balance expectations of transparency with a legal right to privacy, which is afforded employee-employer relationships. However, I also want to encourage the board tonight during agenda item 9.1, which is the board's action regarding the superintendent resignation agreement, to take this opportunity to provide the community with as much insight as is legally possible into their decision to include the sum of $144,182.43 in the separation agreement with Dr. Rodriguez. This kind of meaningful communication that they have the opportunity for tonight, I know it's already probably just a part of the plan, and I'm so glad for that, but I cannot overstate what I believe is the importance of it here. And I'm hopeful that the board's comments and perspectives that they will share with us is going to be the opportunity that this district needs to begin what will be a difficult time of transition with as much clarity and context as possible. I really appreciate, again, your time and your honesty, and even if you go over 2 minutes each. Thank you.
Thank you. The next business in order is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes routine personnel, minutes from our previous board meeting, and action on policies EF, EFC, EFEA, and repeal of policy EFB. Directors, are there any items that you would like to pull off of the consent agenda for a separate discussion or vote? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
Please call to vote.
Director Stepp,
Aye.
Director Ramirez.
Aye.
Director Kuhlenberg,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Aye.
Director Tyler.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item is policy review. Next business in order is discussion on policy IHBIB, the Universal Preschool Program. This is on first of 3 reads. There's not action on this item tonight. Each board member will have 2 minutes to share comments or ask questions. We'll begin with Director Tyler.
I'm good. Thank you.
Director Stepp.
I don't have any questions either.
Director Ramirez.
I don't either. Thank you.
Director Torres.
Pretty easy. I do not have any questions either.
I also don't have any follow-up. We've reviewed this one a couple times already in policy committee, and it will be before the board 2 more times before final approval. We'll now have 5 minutes of open discussion. Anything come to anyone's mind?
I just want to say thanks to the policy committee for, this is a very concise, again, when we don't have questions, it's because it's in, I think, great detail. And it explains what the goal is. So I just want to extend my thanks and gratitude. When it's something that we can easily understand and agree with.
And likewise, this one's timely with UPK coming down the pipe. It needed to be updated, so. Anything else?
No, likewise, I appreciate you guys adding some edits. I think that this is a really important policy that we wanted to make sure was not only came before the board, but that we actually had in our policies. So thank you.
And I think this one, for the rest of the benefit of the rest of the board, you know, in this one, it was difficult to walk the line of policy versus regulation and staying high level without getting too detail oriented. So that was a lot of the conversation around this policy. And I think where we landed is the appropriate place. So. Anything else? Thank you. The next business in order is action on superintendent resignation agreement. Each board member will have 2 minutes and then we will call the vote. We'll begin with Director Stepp.
Thank you, Director Kohlenberg. As we've heard pretty much all week, this is extremely unfortunate that the board has been put into this position. None of us wanted to be here and are, not extremely happy about being here. However, after, months of negotiation and advice from legal counsel, this is what we need to do to move on and start healing. So, it is what it is. So, thank you.
Thank you. Director Ramirez.
As a member of the board, I share the disappointment of my colleagues in having to enter into a resignation agreement with their current superintendent. However, I strongly believe, alongside our community, that our district's leader and their family should live within our boundaries and attend our public schools. It is crucial that the board acts urgently to find a solution to this problem, which we will undoubtedly continue to face until resolved, and ensure that we can attract the best superintendent for our district. I remain determined as we begin the search process for our next superintendent in finding a leader who will always prioritize the success of our students. Despite the challenges we have faced, I am proud of how the board and our district's leaders have continuously worked together to keep this district moving forward.
Thank you. Dr. Torres.
I'm going to read my statement because I don't want to miss out. I think a lot of us did our very best to capture as much as we can without going so much into the personnel details. So I just wanted to share. So to say I feel frustrated, disappointed, saddened is an understatement. I hope that we can move forward and learn from this experience as board members. We're continuously faced with difficult decisions that please some and not others. We do our best with the information that we have at the time, the options that we're given, which we don't always like, but that we have to choose from. The goal of supporting students throughout our community. Our district deserves a leader committed to being an established member of our community, along with an advocate for our students, teachers, and staff, an innovator to lead us into the future, and a role model who can inspire those around them. We can't control the actions of others as much as we wish we could, but we can decide how we respond. I choose to stay focused on what's ahead and learn from the lessons of the past, and I just hope that others can too.
Thank you. Director Tytler.
It is always a difficult decision as a board member when and how you would move on in a situation like this. And I feel it is in the best interest of the students, the school staff, and the community that we find new leadership for our district. Having a leader who is actively engaged and bought into the district is greatly valued by our community. It is the superintendent's role to foster trust, engage in relationships, and build camaraderie, and to move the school district forward together. This includes being part of the community, and the decision by Dr. Rodriguez to not be here in our community full-time is not in the best interest of our school and our students. With this in mind, as a board, we need to further explore how to include language related to working in person and not remotely into any future superintendent contract. Finally, I would like to stress again the importance of having superintendent housing within our district. In our last superintendent search, 19 of the 21 candidates asked for some kind of assistance with housing. In the end, I believe Dr. Rodriguez's decision to buy a house in Denver was based upon his difficulty being able to find a house at a price point that he could afford here. While I disagree with the methods upon which this played out, not being able to find housing in the Valley was a factor in his decision. The task force on superintendent housing unanimously decided that it is in the best interest of the district to provide superintendent housing. And I think it is eminently important that we move on this before hiring our next superintendent.
Thank you. So while this is by far one of the most difficult votes I've taken as a board member, and I think that the public knows there have been many in the past year, and it's never easy, as my colleagues have stated. There never seems to be a situation where you please everyone. I'm confident that this is the right decision to make at this time. As others have stated, this board is committed to ensuring that our leader lives within our district and is an engaged part of our school communities. And under the current circumstances, that simply was no longer possible. And while it's very difficult at any time to reconcile in my own mind the decision to allocate any dollars away from our communities in any instance, the alternative options presented were simply too risky and therefore unacceptable. I am extremely grateful for each and every committed staff and community member who has contributed to the strong start to this school year. And I'm more than confident that our dedicated leadership will continue to guide us through this transition. I remind myself often that at the end of the day, we all want and work for the same thing, and that's an excellent educational experience for our kids. And while in this moment, this is arduous, this is challenging, it's difficult, you know, we're all having a hard time with it. I'm confident that if we're able to work through these moments together and in partnership, that we'll move closer to achieving that aim on behalf of our kids. So with that being said, everyone having a moment to speak, do I have a motion to approve the Rodriguez RFSD resignation agreement?
I make a motion to approve the RFSD resignation agreement.
Is there a second?
I second.
Please call the vote.
Director Tyler,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Aye.
Director Kuhlenberg,
Aye.
Director Ramirez,
Aye.
Director Stepp.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next business in order is action on the finalists for the interim superintendent position. As a bit of background before we go into the process, since Friday, there has been an internal opening for an interim superintendent position. We received one application from acting superintendent, Dr. Anna Cole. And the action here tonight is to approve Dr. Anna Cole as the finalist for the interim superintendent position. Per law, as a district, we must declare a finalist and wait at least 10 days before acting on that. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve Dr. Anna Cole as interim superintendent,
Finalist for the
finalist,
superintendent position.
interim superintendent for Roaring Fork Schools.
I second that.
Please call the vote.
Director Stepp,
Aye.
Director Ramirez,
Aye.
Director Kuhlenberg,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Aye.
Director Tyler.
Aye.
Directors, you'll now have an opportunity to comment if you would like. You'll each have 2 minutes. We'll begin with Director Ramirez.
Thank you, Dr. Cole, for stepping up. I think it's really important for our district to have a leader that can continue to direct us moving forward while we start our superintendent search. I think it's really important. And I look forward to us engaging the new board members that will be coming into this role so that we can find the leader of the district moving forward.
Thank you. Director Torres.
I echo the sentiments of gratitude and appreciation for what you've done so far and what you will do moving forward. So thank you. I look forward to keeping our district moving in the direction that we're going and appreciate your leadership.
Director Tyler.
Again, I would like to echo the same things, and Dr. Cole, I would just like to say thank you for your positive attitude, your great work ethic, all the interactions I've had with people around the superintendent position has given a lot of positive feedback on the job that you're doing. They appreciate the way that you relate with others, and just want to say thank you. And I appreciate how you have stepped in and led us in a difficult time.
Director Stepp.
I also want to thank you for stepping up as the acting and also now the interim. I don't know if we needed to add in the motion about this is through June 30th.
No, I want to clarify that this is action to identify
For the-
Dr. Cole as the finalist for the interim position.
For 10
The
days.
board will engage in contract negotiations with acting superintendent Cole and will act on a contract on our November 8th meeting.
Right. I knew that. Sorry. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, I think your years of service and your dedication to the students and staff of the district is exemplary, and we're lucky to have you.
So of course, I echo all of the sentiments of gratitude. I want to thank you for your willingness to continue to serve in this capacity, to be there for our students, our staff, us, and our community, because as we all, I think, know well, and as I'm sure you have learned well in the last 3 months, this is not an easy role to fill. It takes someone who is not just dedicated to learning and students and schools, but who's willing to take the lumps along the way, because it's a difficult path to be on. So I greatly appreciate your willingness to continue to serve in this way. And I look forward to continuing to work with you. So, thank you. All right. We voted. We did all the yes. Okay, the next business in order is board reports and comments. We'll begin with Director Torres.
I have no board reports at this time.
Director Tyler.
The only thing I would like to talk about, and it was brought up a little bit by Chief Markham, about the great progress that is happening over at Meadowood. I don't know if anybody's had the time to go over there, but in one of the buildings that's 2 stories is pretty much complete with the framing, roof on. And the biggest building, they have the 3rd floor starting to work on that, and the delay with some piping issues that was happening, but now there's foundation work and ready to start framing in the 3rd building and just moving along nicely and looking great. So it's a great job over there.
Thank you. Director Stepp.
Just planning another seed parking lot item. I will attend the next Colorado River BOCES board meeting at the beginning of November. But then we need to appoint a new board member to that, and I'm happy to help get them up to speed on all that's happening there. And then also the City of Glenwood Springs Urban Renewal Authority has a meeting coming up in November. So we'll need somebody there to represent the school district, and they need to be appointed as well. So as we all have been at one point or another.
And Director Stepp, can you clarify for us? I think last time about BOCES, you mentioned that you didn't think that that role was suitable for a new board member. Do you have thoughts or comments about that?
Ideally, it would be an experienced board member.
Okay.
I wasn't when I started, so it's not, it's not a deal breaker, but it would be helpful. You get to work with the other school districts, Aspen, RE2, RE16 in Quebec, and their superintendents, and find out a lot about what's going on. So it's good connections. There's a lot going on, so
Thank you.
that's helpful, but not necessary.
Director Ramirez.
Well, I'm happy to take the urban development.
We have to appoint you.
They have to appoint me. So I guess you and I can get on an email chain to see.
For BOCES?
No, for the other one.
Oh, you are.
And then I think it'd be a good process for us to talk about committees. During one of those first meetings with new board members. And I think we should probably just have a discussion on what committees exist that currently board members do not exist on.
I'm also going to suggest that the board president not be on IBB, although it's super helpful. It's too much. It's not too much. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's all a lot. Okay, thank you. Anything else, Director Ramirez?
Nope.
I think just brief update for the community, kind of on what we covered for our work session. The board is working on building out a new member orientation process that we've spent a significant amount of time on, as well as building out a board handbook so that when new board members come on, there will be more resources available, as well as focusing on professional development for new board members as they step into this role. But I don't have any other updates right now. So we will move on to our final agenda item, which is appreciations, and we will begin with Director Tyler.
So I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to teachers at this time of year with conferences and all the extra time that goes into this week. And I know it's a big tax on them as people. I think it's taxing on their families. It takes a team effort. And just in addition to the extra time that it takes out of their day and the evenings away, it's also a very emotional time. It's coincides a lot of times with the end of grading. A lot of work that's gone into that, a lot of work that goes into behavior and all the effort that's gone into that. And it really is a huge role that teachers are playing in the lives of so many students. And just want to be said that at this point that is not going unnoticed. And so thank you not only for the time, but for the role and who you are in the lives of so many people.
Director Stepp.
You kind of stole mine, but I'll kind of add on to that. I wanted to appreciate the teachers and counselors. This midpoint of the semester is, you start to see a lot of students struggling. And our partnership with Aspen Hope Center, our school counselors, but it's the teachers in the classroom are not just teaching subject matter, they are counselors and, like you said, bus drivers and coaches and supervising homecoming dances and so much more. And we just have an amazing team. And it's just great to be part of all this. So thank you all.
Director Ramirez.
I'll echo all the appreciations that took place already. And then one of the appreciations I have this week is for a organization called EcoFlight, who invited me to go on a tour of some policy by BLM that's happening in regards to oil and gas. And I really appreciated them extending the invitation. They've taken some of our students on those tours. And I think anytime an organization can collaborate with us to give our students experiences is super important and crucial for not only their growth, but their ability to think of other professions that they may not have opportunities to look into. So thank you to EcoFlight for taking some middle schoolers on that flight. I think it was a really fun opportunity to hear the thoughts of the young people in our district who are going to undoubtedly change the world.
Director Torres.
So my appreciation is to our board president, board chair, who has been dealing with very, very difficult negotiations that I don't think anyone outside of this group and could grasp how hard this has been. And I really appreciate, obviously, we do not want any type of fiscal impact at all, but recognizing that that was not something that we could control is, I appreciate it has not been easy. And whereas I would love to share every detail, we're not going to that level. And we're I think it's important to understand how hard this has been. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a couple of appreciations. I wanted to give a shout out to Colorado Extreme, who is taking each grade level at Basalt Elementary to learn how to skate and play hockey over these last weekend, this week, as well as our staff who was getting out there on the ice with the kids to give teachers some time throughout the days. The kids have loved it. You know, the program has all the equipment and they've been incredible. And from what I've heard, it's gone off without a hitch. And so it's been a really great experience for our kids. And I also wanted to give a special thanks to all of our librarians, because I, in a crazy moment of life, booked both of my kids' conferences today. And so spent some conferences back to back ahead of this and did a whirlwind through the book fair. And just remembering the amount of time and energy that our librarians put in and the excitement that creates for our kids, the community that it creates for our schools, the way that it impacts the culture in those buildings, and everything that comes with it, which is pretty great. As I got dragged around from like itty bitty kitty corn to Spidey to all the things. It was impactful, and I realized it was humming. So just like the impact that it had on all of our kids was pretty amazing. So in addition to the other things that we've done tonight, these are the two that I wanted to call out specifically. Okay. If there's no further business and there's no objection, this meeting will be adjourned. It is 7:39 p.m. The next regular Board of Education meeting is November 8th, 2023. All right.